Just like, if everything was so easy, I don't think our character would be the same.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the beauty of the struggle that we have, just especially on, this fallen people, in this world. It's like purifying gold, right? You gotta do it by fire. It's, and so it's a lot of those things that we probably would rather not go through, but we need them.
Yeah. Welcome back, everybody, to Jesus Stories at Burnet First Methodist. I'm Nick. We've got a very special guest with us today, my great friend Sean Linder. He's going to be telling us what Jesus has done in his life, and I just can't wait to hear it. I've known this guy since high school and even before middle school.
Yeah.
So we were like still in elementary school whenever we first started seeing each other. And man, since my life has come into contact with Sean, my life has been blessed. And it's just one of the ways that, when you're living the life in the overabundance of the fruits of the Spirit, they have no choice but to be contagious. Like COVID-19, man, somebody else is going to catch it too. So welcome with us, Sean. Thank you.
Yeah, glad to be here.
So how old are you?
Pretty old. I was born in the 1900s.
Nice.
Born in 86, so I'm 40. Just turned 40 in March.
Nice.
Yep.
Big 4-0. What does it feel like?
It feels like I imagined 80 would feel like when I was younger.
Okay.
At least for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks like it too.
I didn't do a lot of stretching when I was younger.
Oh. I didn't eat your vegetables either, huh?
Yeah. That's, I guess I lived extra hard when I was younger. So.
No, you look great. I mean, you absolutely do not look like you're 40. Not a day over 35, man. You've done really well. God has really preserved your life, and I don't think he's done yet, man.
Yeah. We'll see. I had a back surgery a couple of years ago. So it's like I'm 40 now, but when I turned 37, I think that's when I felt like a grenade went off in my body. Started having all sorts of issues, but
yeah,
we'll see.
So what type of back surgery was it?
So I had it was like a disc surgery, discectomy or something. I don't remember. They had to trim a disc off of my sciatic nerve. So, yeah, because it was clamping down on it pretty good for about 2 years straight. So.
Still in pain from that?
No, but I mean, I get a little bit of sciatica from time to time if I lift or bend too much.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how much I can do. I get kind of scared.
Yeah.
Because it was pretty brutal. So if I do something and it starts to come back, I get kind of a chicken out from doing anything.
You think it's the memory of it that's kind of burned into your mind?
No, I think it still can get aggravated. Not like it was, but yeah, I don't want to go back to the issues I was having. So as much as I'd like to do more stuff, I still take it pretty easy if I'm able to.
Well, since we're on the 37, 40 year mark, do you believe that God does more at 37 and 40? Or do you believe that he did more earlier in your life?
I would think it'd be consistent. I mean,
yeah,
our point of view, it might seem like more, but I would factor that as, we're also aware of more things. We're able to look back in hindsight. We're able to, once we have a relationship with God, we're able to see how things are working. So we're able to see it more than when we're just completely blind to it,
And know when we're walking into those darker seasons that, all right, this is nothing I really need to stress about. This is something that I've seen God deliver me from before. I recognize that anxiety inside myself, and it's like, it's where he's about to do something.
Yeah. So I think for a lot of reasons, I mean, we we see things better, you know. But I would assume, I mean, from even before we're born, he's still, I mean, he's acting in a lot of ways, you know, even before the universe. So, you know, he already had everything in mind. He's already, you know, being past, present, future, you know. So he's already in all ways, you know, putting his hand in everything. So.
Well, I remember the Sean Linder back in high school that was a rocker. I don't remember if you were too much of a stoner. Maybe you were inwardly, but maybe not so much outwardly with the crowds. But I do remember you being a little bit more of you were a little more wild back then.
Yeah, I think that's an understatement. I was definitely pretty wild. I was definitely an alcoholic at a young age.
Oh.
Yeah, even before high school, but definitely during freshman and so yeah. Wow. But especially by the time freshman and sophomore year, I had a problem. Yeah.
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 Wow.
Yeah, so it started early.
Alcohol till after sophomore year, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say I was addicted to alcohol heavily definitely by sophomore year. But,
so you just went down to the liquor store and got your own liquor or what?
No, I don't even remember.
With that little mustache that you used to have?
No. I don't remember. I mean, we seemed to always find a way, you know, have somebody older buy alcohol and stuff. But I know that when I was able to drive, I always had you know, even if it was hot outside, you know, case of beer or something in the trunk of the car. And so, you know, before I get to school, I would drink during lunch, after school for sure. So, yeah, it was pretty crazy.
Yeah. I got pretty wrapped up in it. It just wasn't something I was able to let go of very easily.
Yeah.
You know, our culture really supports drinking and I would say drunkenness even.
For sure. Yeah, it's I mean, you're able to kind of let go a little bit more, not worry too much about your actions.
Yeah.
You know, especially if you're really wanting to, you know, I don't know, maybe not have the accountability, but you want to have fun. You want to, especially when you're a kid. I mean, you know, kids really don't know much, you know. You're immature. You think you know more than you are. You think you're wiser than you really are. You think you have enough, you know, so much experience and you don't.
I still feel that way.
Yeah. Well, that's the funny thing is the older I get, the more I feel like, man, you know, when I look at people my age as a kid, I'm like, man, these guys just got to really figure it out. They've been around. They know everything, you know. They're not questioning it. They're not wondering, you know. But the reality is, you know, maybe it's like, if you heard the expression, it's like the more you know, the more you realize you don't know.
Absolutely.
So I think it's that case. And so the more that we do learn, the more wisdom we get, the more maturity we're aware of all the things that we probably don't know. So it's humbling for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So a lot of times, you know, I find myself wishing that there was an adult around to maybe help me, but, you know, we're always just trying to figure stuff out. And every year we haven't been that old before, or, you know, you have kids, you get married, all those things. You don't get to practice beforehand. There's not a, you know, manual that tells you exactly how to do things. Yeah. So you're just figuring it out. Yeah. And I even tell my kids that a lot. It's like, look, you know, I'm going to make mistakes and there will be times that, you know, maybe I didn't do something the right way or could have done better. And it's like, all I can do is do my best and apologize when I need to and try to learn from it. But at the same time, you got to, you know, give us grace because it's not like we've done this before.
Yeah.
Like, we're doing it as we go.
And you're a humble guy, man. And just for me, be on the outside looking at your life. And it's always been this way since we've been out of high school. And I looked at you and you've been married with your amazing wife, Sarah, man. It's just, I looked at your life. I'm like, that guy's got it together. That guy's got it all together, you know?
Yeah, I don't know.
But you never struck me as one of those matter of fact speaking dudes that was just straight up like hard nosed. This is what you got to do. This is how you got to do it. Other than the word of God, you have been as true to that as anything I've ever heard you speak. But other than that, figuring out this walk of faith, you've always been real genuine to me about that. And that's given me hope because I've never been that hard-nosed guy that really understood things. So you've really spoken into my life by saying what you just said, that, you know, it's not about knowing it all. It's about learning it.
Yeah. I mean, it's impossible to know it all. So, it's, you know, there's some comfort, you know, when we realize where we lack and our limitations. It's humbling. It's, you know, it's beneficial, but it's also, you know, for me, it gives me peace because, you know, expectations are a big part of everything for me. And that's one thing it took a long time to learn. But I feel like if you have the right expectations for yourself and for other people and situations, a lot of problems can be avoided, you know, when you kind of know what to expect from people or from selling. And so it's like, well, at the end of the day, no matter what's going on, whether it's time or stress or you're trying to figure something out, the best you can do is you know, that's the best you can do. Other than that, the expectation is it's going to take some time. You're going to learn, you're going to grow, you're going to make mistakes. And that's with anything. If you're trying to learn a skill, if you're trying to get better at marriage, if you're trying to, you know, build a business, you know, it's always going to come down to those things from what I see, you know.
Yeah.
And if you can realize those things ahead of time, it really helps you to move forward in a productive way. Going back to just, okay, well, what can I do?
Absolutely. And so, like, I'm kind of on the verge of taking on a new task at this point in my life, and it's not something I've ever done. It's like starting a business. It's like, well, should you wait till you have all the equipment and all the tools and all the financial backing? They say you got to be financially stable or capable of supporting yourself for 2 years before you go into companies, go into business for yourself. And it's like, should I wait on all these things to be in order? Or should I just start being in business? You know, what comes first, like the chicken or the egg?
Yeah. Yeah. I would think it would depend on what you're doing. But I know for me, if I know that I need to do something, then it's hard for me to be patient. I just do it, just figure it out.
Yeah.
The best I can. I mean, naturally there are things that you will have to have something in place for, like, you know, if you want to be a landscaper, well, you got to have access at least to somebody else's mower, you know, and weed eater. Like, you can't just go out there judo chopping the grass, you know. So, I mean, to an extent, you definitely have something.
I can't take my samurai sword out there.
Yeah. So you have to have something, you know. But beyond that, I mean, especially if it's a God thing, you know, and I definitely have experience with that. I mean, it's because I have a business, and, you know, starting that up, it was clear I needed to do it. And, you know, and that's, you know, doing video stuff, doing, you know, media. And so not a lot of people know this, but I didn't own a camera when I started my business.
Yeah.
I was borrowing it from Jason. I was borrowing his camera. I didn't know what the heck I was doing either. I didn't. But yeah, the way I work is, you know, if I get my mindset on it, I'm just going to figure it out. You know?
When you say you didn't know, and I don't want to interrupt you,
Yeah.
but I've been with you on a shoot once before, and I now take pictures the way that you were taking pictures, right? You stand in the corner of a room and you try to get the wide angle. I do that now after watching you, and every time I take a picture, I'm thinking about centering things up just the way that you would do it. I've just seen you do it one time. I was like, this guy really knows what he's doing.
Well, now, I mean,
Yeah.
but that not in the beginning, you know. So that comes from, you know, tons of research and asking around and doing a bad job until it got good. Just always trying to figure it out, get better. What are other people doing? What are the standards for this? So yeah, I mean, what you're talking about, when you went with me to do that real estate photo job, yeah, I mean, I've done hundreds and hundreds of those, but you should see the first one I did. It took me forever, way longer than it should have, because I was just paranoid, like, well, maybe if I take infinity photos, we'll have enough that are good, because angles and stuff, and I'm also aware that typically the process is you're probably even going to think you're doing a good job, and then as you actually get good at something, you'll look back and be like, oh man, that was terrible.
Yeah. But
you don't know what you don't know. And so I've had enough of those experiences where, I'll tell people ahead of time, look, especially if I'm training them on something, it's like, look, you're going to think that you're going to do one thing and you're going to be like, wow, that looks great. And, and it's not, but you don't know until you start doing it better. You
don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
Man, that's a great line too.
And it's not a discouraging thing. It's just that
challenge.
When you're trying to get good at something, I mean, we play guitar, so, we want to play guitar because we listen to people that are awesome at guitar. I'm like, man, I want to play that.
Yeah.
So, we don't start out playing Metallica solos. We start.
Well, I started playing off the
Yeah,
but that was it.
Yeah, and I mean,
it's sad. It was
even playing the first note. I mean, it's just trying to like pick and hold a note and not mute it or whatever and make an actual sound. Like that's the first part of the process. So it's not like you just start out playing something cool.
No, you start out sounding like your guitar has gas.
Yeah, you're like playing like a robot, all this stuff, and you can't run before you crawl,
Yeah.
And so I think something as simple as that process, when we're born and as we get older, it's no different. I can't think of many things that people are just amazing at immediately. At the same time, the cool thing is, people think a lot of things are just talents or natural, but in my opinion, I think if you just want to be good at something bad enough, or if you want to achieve something bad enough, then you'll do it. It's really more of a desire to do something. That's the key ingredient, So I mean, if easy example is, belief, is going to produce action, just like faith produces works, all that stuff. If this building was on fire and you really wanted to get out of here, you probably would figure it out, pretty quickly, there'd be a lot of urgency. You wouldn't be sitting there going, well, it'd probably be too hard, or I just wasn't born able to run real fast, or, whatever. No, it's like, all right, I got to get out of here. How are we doing it? Right.
Even if the first exit is locked.
Yeah. I mean, it's just
the door's locked. Oh my.
Yeah. It's like, if I got to throw a chair out that window, I'm getting out of here. So my opinion, unless depending on what it is, unless you have some kind of legitimate physical disability, you can pretty much do whatever you want if you really want to.
I was talking to somebody today, and they said that they couldn't believe how somebody took care of a house and they neglected a house that they're trying to put on the market. And I had just said something to him, and I was like, man, I remember being, stricken by depression. It was like, I just couldn't do anything. And maybe there could have been something like a burning house, and I may not have been able to, obviously been able to get up out of something like that, but I couldn't get up out of my own pit, right?
Yeah.
Couldn't do that.
Yeah. That goes back to not really caring, though. Sounds like.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think I like to try and encourage people. I have a lot of background in sales. So I haven't made a living, like I haven't had a regular job like 15 years. So I've only gotten paid if I sell something for about half of my life. So in order to do that, you can't really think in any other way than like, how do I do this?
Mm-hmm.
Not can I do it? How am I going to do it?
Yeah.
You know? And so with that being said, that's pretty important. Otherwise, you just don't do it. Like, just don't even.
Absolutely.
Because if you already have it,
It's the wrong question.
It was like a Ford quote or something. You know, it's you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was like Henry Ford or something. I could be wrong.
Yeah, it was.
But it's true. You know,
apparently
if you think you can't do something, well, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. Apparently that quote was handed down to him from his mother. And so, I mean, I think that, you know, there we go genetically, right? Mm-hmm. Things are passed down. And, you know, Henry Ford got handed down something that, if you look, he had one of the largest companies of that day and age. And he tried to help people believe in themselves too, but look at all the people that worked for him. Probably were hearing that philosophy for the first time in their lives, you know?
Yeah. 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 Like I said, there are a lot of factors to everything, but, you know, we all have different paths. I don't hold it against people that don't pursue things or how, you know, because I get it. Like, I think that I had to learn a lot of that stuff or be put in positions where it's sink or swim. I mean, you don't really have a lot of choices.
Yeah.
But through a lot of the experiences we have, through people, you know, putting our paths, the things we learn, the mistakes we make, that's what molds us.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, you know, if everything was so easy, I don't think our character would be the same.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of the beauty of the struggle that we have, just especially on, you know, this fallen people, you know, in this world. It's like purifying gold, right? You got to do it by fire. It's, you know, and so it's a lot of those things that we probably would rather not go through, but we need them.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, I know I had to go through a point in time when you said you had your back surgery. I had to go through a span of time myself when I wasn't able to provide for myself. Mm-hmm. And for whatever reasons and the purpose was, I come to find out that there's beauty in that, right? And that we're still provided for, you know? And I don't know how everybody's got their rock bottom, but I found that I could still see God's hand at work when I wasn't even capable of taking care of myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a hindsight. You know, it's pretty amazing when you start to pay attention and you can look back and see, man, like if that wouldn't have happened, then this wouldn't have happened. If that, you know, my dad died when I was 4. So I was little, obviously. But I do remember, mm-hmm. Like I remember him, not a lot, but I remember certain things. And I remember when he left. And so even something like that, you know, he's from California.
Yeah.
And my mom was from Burnet. And so I don't remember the timeline exactly, but I was born in Fort Hood because he was stationed in Fort Hood.
Okay.
Which is pretty convenient. So I had to be born real close to where my mom's from and, you know, my mom's side of the family and then grew up here.
Yeah.
And so I think about that and obviously, you know, I'm speculating, you know, I'm not God. I don't know why and when everything, but I think it's a safe bet to say that, you know, if he wouldn't have died, well, then I could have not only not lived here, I probably wouldn't know the people I know. I wouldn't be married to the wife that I've had for 19 years. You know what I mean? And all of those things that were good may not have happened. And obviously I can't tell you if it would have been good or bad otherwise, you know, but I do think those things, as painful as they are and how they're not, those are things that really mess us up as we're going through life. But I think it's safe to assume that while that, wasn't a good thing or wasn't easy to go through, it could have needed to happen in order for all sorts of other things that I don't know to go the way that they need to.
Yeah.
Just speculating, but I look at things like that and that's how I see it.
Yeah. Well, and I know I was hitting Jeremiah, was it, that says his ways are not our ways, talking about God, and his thoughts are
his
not
thoughts,
our thoughts, or they say higher than our thoughts. And how often do we see something tragic? And I mean, it absolutely is tragic, especially just taking, for instance, the earthquakes that just happened last week. I mean, it was absolutely tragic, and my heart goes and prayers going out for these people that are dealing with it and those who are associated with it. But at the same time, the Romans tried to crucify Jesus in the worst possible imaginable way. Like, that's the worst death that they could have imagined. And the Jews, or not the Jews,
well, it says the Jews, but it's talking about the leaders.
Yeah. Well, they wanted that. They wanted the worst possible outcome for this situation, to disgrace this guy beyond all belief. And then that turned out to be the exact thing that was needed, right?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't think there's a better example of something that looks terrible, and was, but it was for greater good.
Yeah.
It says, all things work for good for those who love God, and I believe that. So even when we run into something, like recently I was telling you, I mean, encouraging you, with work stuff, I was like, I can look back plenty of times and it's like, oh man, what am I going to do? This stinks. But every time I can look back at that moment and be like, oh, if that wouldn't happen, then wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
Or this wouldn't be going on.
Yeah.
So that needed to happen.
Well, look, when I was a kid, I had thought that cigarettes, drinking, and drugs were the worst thing in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got introduced to those things as a teenager. And all of a sudden I started thinking, oh, well, these are the best things in the world, right? Only to live past all that and to see again that while they may or may not be the worst things in the world, they're not a good thing, and definitely not for me and my health, right? And
for sure.
And so how often and how easy is our understanding to be overthrown? You know what I'm saying? And so our understanding of what the terrible thing is such as the loss of a father, how as a young person, like we're like, oh, this is the worst thing. And as we get older, like you're saying, that maturity sets in, that spiritual discernment that, all right, God knows what he's doing beyond what I know.
Yeah. And like you asked him again, do you think he was working more at this point versus no? Speculating, of course, but, I think everything that happens to us later he was already orchestrating, before the time even came up, so I think it's pretty consistent.
Yeah.
Hey, Sean, Kevin Wester here. So I just wanted to ask you, so I know that you had a real problem with your back. I mean, for a long time. I mean, it seemed like years at least. And so how did that affect your relationship with God at all? I mean, did you have any struggles with that, or how did you feel? Or
yeah, so that was the hardest time of my life for sure. So for 2 years I had constant severe nerve pain. So basically my entire right leg, like, it felt like I had like a sword all the way like up my leg at all times. There was no relief. So I would sleep a few hours a night. I would have to, besides being in severe pain constantly, I would have to kind of at least get some relief, but never any like real relief. I'd have to sit down, I'd have to lay down. And so, I couldn't do what I normally did for a living, because when I would drive, for too long, whether it's because of the seat in the car or whatever, it would just get so bad that I'd have to turn around and go home and lay down. Lifting stuff, being able to help around the house, all that, couldn't really do it. So it's, besides not sleeping is already hard enough, and then not being able to provide for your family.
Yeah.
That's really hard, mentally. And so the pain, trying to figure that out. And then, so I ended up, especially in the second year, with a very severe depression. The doctors would ask about it, because I was trying to figure out everything I could, the best of my ability. Like, I wasn't just laying around saying, "Oh man, sorry, I can't do anything," and I have 4 kids too. So married with 4 kids. So the pain was really bad, but mentally that was worse, because,
Where were you at? What were you thinking? What were your thoughts?
I had a lot of them. And at that time, it was a wild time, because my savings got stolen.
Stolen?
My mom died. Couldn't provide for my family, couldn't sleep, it was just anything you could think of, man. It was just, I kind of felt like, obviously if you put it all on paper, Job had it worse, but man, I was definitely feeling, it's like, what is happening? I couldn't find a solution, just doing my best to try to figure out something. Financially, it was getting really hard. I was maxing out credit cards, borrowing money, that kind of thing. That doesn't make you feel good either. Trying to figure out, begging God to guide me on, what to do. Cause still I don't think like, oh, well, I just can't do anything about it. No, there's something, there's definitely something I can do. I just got to figure out what it is. And so after about a year of that, it was getting really hard to be positive,
Yeah.
And then especially, my mom dying or savings getting stolen, all these different things. It's like, and so I really started to, have thoughts where I really didn't want to be here anymore, but I think logically it makes sense, because it's like, man, and so, thinking about it, it's like, well, I have life insurance, and honestly, besides the emotional, factor, it's my family would be way better off if I wasn't here, because they could at least pay bills and, catch a break. And, my wife's, she was under 40 at the time. It'd be real easy for her to find another husband, kind of thing.
She's over 40. I think it'd still be easy.
Yeah, it'd still be easy for her to find a husband.
I don't know if she'd find one quite like you, man.
Well, I don't know. I always tell her it'd probably be pretty easy to upgrade, but, hopefully she doesn't get a chance to figure that out. But yeah, so I really struggled with that. And, as much as I wanted to do something about it, I would never do that to my family, So,
yeah.
So, I just kept pushing through. But what I did do was, I figured, well, I can't, take my own life. I don't want to do that, but God can. Yeah. So if He does it, it's not on me. So every day, beg and beg God just to keep me, because it just didn't make sense. Like, it'd be better for them, and really like locking in on that. Not like I'm just feeling bad from, like, no, it's like they really would be better for them. They would get over it eventually, and they'd be better off. And so that was like the icing on the cake, where I was just like, man, so just begging them. It's like, look, after all this, if you're not gonna help me, just me, please, like, just let's get it over with, because I can't, as much as I powered through stuff, it's like, I just can't do this, forever. And so, but I was able to get through it. And, eventually I was led to where, trying different things. And it was very apparent to me that, I start the media business. And so, long story short, just to avoid some of the little things that kind of led to that. And so once I knew that I knew, and I have enough experience with God where, it's pretty obvious. And so that's all I needed. So I was like, all right, that's what I'm doing now. So I'm going to eat, sleep, and breathe this and make it happen.
So you felt like you got a new lease on life once that back pain or once that sciatic pain?
Yeah, it's as terrible as it was, and as terrible as that period of time was. It's funny because a lot of what helped me, even now, is my sales experience. So, I mean, I was cold caller, door knocker, all that stuff. I've trained a lot of people. I've done it in a way that's about as hard as it gets. I would go to towns I'd never been into, been in for a week at a time, and I just have to make a living, not knowing anybody or anything. So, with that, being able to get through that and always come out on top or get by, it left me without any excuses on, and that's probably where a lot of that, there's a way, I just don't know what it is, but we'll figure it out, because what other choice do you have, But even back then, I would have highs and lows, and I'd do really well, but then I'd question, because man, it's like, how is it, even to the point where I would train other people and they would do amazing. It's like, they're doing what I taught them.
Yeah.
What the heck? It seemed like there was something always keeping me from being as successful as I should have been.
Yeah.
Like, legitimately didn't make sense.
Yeah.
I do good, but it's like a glass ceiling.
Just comes
no matter
really
what.
easy to other people. They just take off.
I don't know. It's even now, like, when things are working out in a way that they never have, it's like, okay. I think it's more than skill. It's more than the things that we can control. I think the big factor is that you take all those things, you take all those, the experience, the wisdom, the skill, the tools you have, but it's got to be a timing thing with God, because God, everything he does is perfect timing. So that's why, we can do the right thing and we can say the right thing, but if it's not the right time.
What do they call that, Kevin? That's Kairos, God's special time, the perfect timing.
Yeah, I've seen it multiple times, and it's just, you can do the right thing as much as you want, but it's not going to have the impact unless it's at the right time in front of the right person or whatever it is. That's when things will go perfectly, and that's where God comes in. And so having that glass ceiling, it seemed like all the stuff that I went through with that, and wondering, like, this doesn't even make sense. Like, why do I keep getting capped, with this?
What would you say to somebody right now who's dealing with a glass ceiling?
I would just say, look, it goes back to just do what you can do your best, and just seek God and guiding you, because those same things that helped me get through and do well, and, get the experiences I had, or build the relationships and pay bills and everything, really paid off way later in a totally different career that I was forced into, because I ended up having the worst time of my life with the back issues. And so then all those things that I would use for that worked so well for this other business. Yeah. And that's more of the just networking, and, so it's, people think of sales, it's like, oh, you're like trying to convince somebody to doing something they don't want to do, or they don't need. It's like, no, it's really just, if you have something that is helpful for somebody, you find the right person for it, and you're just helping that person excuse me, you're helping that person find what they need.
And then you're not helping that person. If you don't get that service, and how are they going to know unless, like you said, you don't know what you don't know, and people don't know what they don't know. And I can't wait to put you to work on my projects.
Well, sales, it's really a numbers thing, honestly. And that's one thing I learned, is that really it's a matter of just getting in front of enough people. There's an expression, you can't say the right thing to the wrong person. You can't say the wrong thing to the right person. Mm-hmm. So you don't have to worry about, is this going to work or how's this going to happen? It doesn't matter. All you can control is who you're talking to, And so you really just got to talk to enough people until you find the right person.
Yeah.
That's it. So if you want to simplify it, not sit there and try to tell the future, because we don't have that ability. So it's like,
you said something the other day when you remember we played that little gig at Bill's and went out and meet a few people afterwards, and you said it's good to know people, and that phrase stuck with me because you do know a lot of people, and your kids will swear the same thing everywhere Daddy goes. He knows everybody in town, and
small town,
and it is that way for you. You do know a lot of people, but you go out of your way to go meet a lot of people too, and you're very interactive, very easy going.
Yeah, I like people, when you get to be my age in a small town, kind of like Andy Griffith, you just really like community.
Yeah.
So it's funny because I'm actually really introverted, and some people don't believe me. But being an introvert doesn't mean that you're not social or you're not able to be social. It just means you get exhausted from it.
Yeah.
And so, just like this, you get me on the right subject, introverts, they'll talk your head off.
Yeah.
You get me on something I'm interested in, I'll talk to you to death.
Yeah.
But if you want to start talking to me about Dancing with the Stars or something that I don't care about, like, man, I'm going to fall asleep. Like, so it's a weird thing. And then afterward, I'll just be completely drained.
Yeah.
But it's pretty funny.
But it does work. It does work. And that is the sowing our seed in God's kingdom, is you have a service to offer, but you also bring with you spiritual gifts, right? Like you also have fruits of the Spirit that you bear with you wherever you go. So as well, the more people that you're able to interact with, you may not preach Jesus and Romans road to them. However, they're able to see something. They're able to see grace in your life. They're able to see genuineness in your speech, and honesty and even integrity and I know with your business, and you're able to display these fruits of the Spirit that some people, a lot of people are not bearing them, this is not so
I think for all sorts of reasons, it's, there's some fundamental things that, how you treat people is extremely important. Not only for your, being an ambassador of Christ, but even if it's for your own self, how you treat people is going to hurt you, or it's going to help you, besides being the right thing to do. And so I was talking to a guy today that I'm trying to expand and scale my business, and I'm getting to where I just can't do everything myself. And at the same time, I'm trying to figure out how to navigate and bring people in that want to work with me on stuff, but make sure that, not that I, have gotten to the, highest achievements as far as my abilities. It's just always trying to get better still, but I want to make sure if I put somebody out there to represent me, that they're, doing a good job and especially treating people right. So I was talking to him about it, and it's like, look, most important thing is you want to, if it's filming a concert, or if is you want to be aware of, you want to be respectful of the situation of people. You don't want to get in the way, but you want to do a good job. You always want to put safety above, getting the good shot if you have to, that kind of thing. And ultimately, you want people to look back and say, it was really nice to work with this person. Otherwise they're not going to want you to come back. And that, I think everybody probably knows that, but those things are so important and so above creativity, Yeah. And so I've noticed it too, because I film concerts from time to time, and with some of these musicians, especially ones that are pretty well known, the conversation comes up a lot, and I haven't been around too many people that are, too prideful or kind of rude, that kind of thing, but I have come across a couple. And so I hear other musicians talk about, it's like, you could be the best in the world, but if you're hard to work with, nobody wants to work with you.
Yeah.
But that just goes back to, who wants to work with somebody that's a jerk,
Yeah, exactly.
And so pride's, I think the root of all sin. So it's, doesn't make sense to me to be prideful, but we are what we are. So, we all battle that from time to time. Maybe not as severely as we used to after we're born again, but we still battle it for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's and you remember the old timers, whenever we were younger, we were like, oh, this guy, he just won't listen to nobody, right?
Yeah.
It's one of those battles that gets tougher as we get older,
Yeah.
Jesus' life didn't get easier as he got older.
No, I mean, you go back to the words of wisdom, scripture, I mean, it's a full, rejects wisdom. It's true.
Yeah.
One of the most important things I ever learned, whether it's through sales or it's like, hey, if you want to learn something, find somebody who's already good at it.
Yeah.
And learn from them, I figured out yourself if you have the ability to spend time with somebody that's already good.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's one thing I say about you is not a lot of ego dealing with you. And, and it's just, I think it's just recognizing this clearly from your faith, right? Because I remember when we were in high school, we were butt heads. I know I was.
Oh, yeah.
But, I mean, God's given you an amazing deal. I mean, he really has right now where you're at this point in your life. And you know that. But, it's also you knowing God to know how to honor him with the stewardship of what he's given you.
Well, I mean, working on it,
Yeah.
I mean, definitely... I do reflect a lot. Just, it's really easy, for me to evaluate myself and, come up short, but it's good because if you're always, looking to grow or get better, it's good to be aware and self-reflect and, evaluate yourself. I think some people might hear that in a weird way, like works or whatever. But thing is, if you love somebody, then you're not going to be satisfied with, just doing okay, right? So, if you're married and you love your wife, then you're not going to be okay with just kind of checking in from time to time. Hey, how's it going? Kind of deal.
Okay.
Like, no, like if you love your wife.
Us, man, you've been married 20 years, man. Let us know. Let us know. We're trying to figure this thing out where you already been paving the road, man.
So, as a love expert, no, I'm just kidding. No, it's just, same thing with God, same thing with your wife, same thing with your kids, same thing with skills you're trying to build. Is if you care enough about somebody, you're always going to want to try and do better and be better for them. It's because you want to. It's because you care about them. So same thing with God for sure. I didn't understand that growing up as a kid in church, but it's a supernatural thing. It's something God has to reveal to you. But same thing, us having a relationship with God's not just some kind of idea that we talk about. It's not like, it's this imaginary thing. It's it's a real actual thing that you experience, not just when you die, but while you're alive.
Yeah.
And so when that happens, it makes a lot more sense that, well, before growing up, I never had like that divine intervention. I think I had some pockets of it. But just being a church person, hey, I believe the concept. I say the prayer, got baptized, see in heaven, but I was totally fine thinking and living, totally opposite of how I should have been.
That cheap grace, huh?
Yeah. And you don't know what you don't know, right? So it's not a big deal. Like, it's fine as long as you're not murdering anybody, or, you have your basic morality. Yeah. As long as you're doing as good as everybody else and you're not a serial killer, like, what's the problem? There shouldn't be an issue, right? So you can be a raging alcoholic, you can steal, you can lie, you can do all these things, but
or white lies,
Yeah.
Man, Pastor Leslie was talking about that this weekend about, a lot of times we grade our sins, on a scale that God says, none of it is acceptable.
Yeah, and we use our own standards or the standards of other people in the world.
Culture.
But our righteousness is as filthy rags, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, as far as testimony goes, really, since I'm kind of talking about it, growing up in church and stuff, that's kind of how it was. If I really got in a bind, I would definitely do some praying. If I wasn't going to graduate, or if I, or something, if I got busted doing something, or, then I was praying, man, for sure. But you look back at that. That's not a great relationship with God by any means.
No.
We have those relationships with other people, especially as we get older, somebody needs something from us.
Well, then how long do those relationships last?
Yeah, they're not good relationships at all. And so we deal with these things. We go through life with them, so we can easily look at them as examples and be like, man. So in hindsight, once we know, it's like, well, if I had a relationship with God like that, that's a terrible relationship. It's not a real relationship at all.
What they say, some people treat God like he's the horn on their car. They only use it in an emergency. And they say, well, where God
or a genie
wants you to be is the steering. God wants to be the steering wheel of your car, not the horn. He wants to be what guides and directs your car.
Yeah. Yeah, and but until and so it's interesting because we can, when I say this about looking back or people, if I say something about like, well, people just go to church, but they're not really, involved too much, or, well, that's because God's the one that has to reveal Himself, and that's out of our control, It's just like when Christ asked Peter who he was, and he was like, "You're the Christ." And it's like, yeah, but you would, paraphrasing, you wouldn't have known that if my Father hadn't revealed it to you, right?
Yeah.
And so, that's where God has to reveal Himself for sure. And then once He does, it's like blinders are lifted, and now things are totally different. You see things differently. You feel things differently. You hear things differently. The things that you used to love, you might hate.
Yeah.
Things that you might not have liked, or thought was really boring, like Bible studies and going to church or whatever it is. Now they're exciting.
Yeah.
But that's because you're a different person.
Fulfilling.
Yeah. And I didn't know that till. I remember a couple of times, as a youth in church, there were a few times where I knew 100% that God was communicating with me, not like audibly, but like really getting through to me and giving me a desire to start seeking Him. But it was kind of hints of what happened later, and I don't understand it. I can only speculate, of course. And I do think that He's always there, but He reveals Himself in different ways. And then, maybe it's because of the timing now, where He had to get to this perfect timing to make this, real impactful move.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, just assuming, but it makes sense to me. So it's because I mean, even with that, it's like there's tons of times I should have died for sure. High school especially.
Yeah.
I was a maniac.
Yeah.
So I mean, drinking and driving, all sorts of stuff. Like could have easily died, but I didn't.
Thank God.
Yeah. So it's like it seems like he preserved me, and all those things built up to this one time where then it was so dramatic, and giving ideas. So me and my wife, I had a buddy, we had an apartment together in Austin, and we've been friends since high school. But then we started getting to where we were really like at odds, and almost got into a fight and stuff like that. And I was like, this is just not going to work. We got to do something different. And so me and my brother and another friend of mine, we ended up looking for a place together in Cedar Park. And I went in, and my wife now, she was the leasing agent at the townhomes that I was, looking at.
Yeah, so you walked in there, you're like, I'm
yeah,
gonna go back in there.
Yeah, and so I was probably way too sure of myself at that time, but yeah. But it's kind of funny looking back. But yeah, confidence wasn't an issue. But went in there, and she ended up moving us right next to her. So these townhomes, there's like a wall divides it, so you're on the other side. And so, we ended up spending time together.
Did she do that on purpose?
She says no, but I'm going to say, yeah.
That
but,
confidence in it,
like,
in there is just,
yeah. I mean, you did your best. But yeah, I don't know. But either way, she did. So, but she did, and we got to know each other. Not the way that not the holiest way possible, just put it that way. But still very worldly. And then it's funny. I remember telling my buddy, like maybe a month before I even met her, I was like, I'll probably be the last one of us to get married because you guys are all nerds, basically. And like, I'm in my prime and I'm tired of hearing all your problems all the time with your girlfriends. Like, and so I was like, I'll probably get a girl from about 30 to start going bald or something,
Yeah.
And that's what I thought of 30. That was like really old.
Are you bald?
No, not yet. It's starting to thin a little bit up here. I don't appreciate it.
Yeah.
But and then a year later, I was married, so it was pretty ridiculous.
Did they hold
so that shows you what do you know, right? So
who was at your wedding? Were they at your wedding?
Yeah.
They were right
I was about 18, 19 at the time.
You know what they were saying to each other? That's where confidence gets you.
Yeah. This guy knows the future real well. But yeah, we ended up making it more official in spite of my plans. And then because she worked there, she wasn't allowed to be in a relationship with somebody that lives there. So then we ended up moving to Leander, to another place. And we actually, at that time, like, there's no way we would get married, or like we were about to break up, every day.
Yeah.
At that time, it was, we were yelling at each other all the time, calling each other names, all these different things. It's like, just, there's no way it was going to work out.
Y'all young couples tune in. This is something for y'all. I got a feeling.
Yeah, just, definitely wasn't going to work out. And then my grandma, she, I'd taken her out to the house, out to the ranch, a few times, and she loved the animals, and my grandparents are awesome. So, naturally she loved all that. And so my grandma ends up breaking her ankle, and she's out there, and so she needs somebody to take her to church on Sundays. And so she asked Sarah to take her to church. And so then naturally I'm like, well, if my girlfriend's driving to Burnet and taking my grandma to church, I should go. Like, that's just right. Like, that'd be weird if I didn't go,
up, right?
if I just stayed at home. Yeah. And so that's where the timing thing really hit. And so I'd grown up in church. It wasn't like I'd never been to church, or, I don't think it really had anything to do so much of, of that. It's the timing. We started going to church, and